Hello, hello, this is Irene with SaugaTalks. Hello, thank you for joining us. I hope you know that we're on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on X. We're on major podcasting platforms. So please follow us. Let your network know, let your peer and your colleague and your friends know that we're here speaking with fascinating people in tech. And we're touching topics all the way from automation to AI to digital transformation. And today, it's my pleasure because Bruce Kornfeld is here. Bruce, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure because we claim that we're going to educate people today on infrastructure, on IT infrastructure, and thinking behind the major decision making that's happening right now. Because all the flash awards, okay, AI agents, AI everywhere, AI on cloud, AI on edge, my head blows up every time I open my LinkedIn feed.
Yeah, I hear you. Like I would just say, like just 6 months ago, I was thinking, AI is really not that big a deal. Maybe it's going to pass. Maybe it's another buzzword, but it is unbelievable what's happening right now. So yeah, looking forward to talking about infrastructure, edge, AI, whatever you'd like. I'm game.
Let's scratch the surface here, okay? Because
Yeah,
30 minutes flying very fast, okay? Especially in great
yeah,
company. So,
yeah.
could you please educate us why edge matters today?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. So yeah, like I think there still might be some disagreement on what edge means and what it doesn't mean, but generally speaking, I think most people think of edge as anywhere that's not in a data center and not in a cloud. So it could be a retail office, a branch office, a manufacturing site, an oil rig, a cruise ship, anywhere that you need to run applications locally because you can't be dependent on cloud or a data center. So edge is starting to become more and more important no matter what the vertical industry is. Everyone's thinking about it um, because cloud doesn't solve every problem out there, is really what's happening.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I am in cloud world, okay? Wherever I
I know.
look, people I know, they're all on cloud, okay? They don't even discuss these topics, okay? Can we bring some spice into the actual IT conversation that's happening out there?
Yeah, let's do it. So let's talk about that. Cloud is everywhere. Cloud has been the de facto standard for IT for decades almost, 10 years, 15 years, because it's easy. IT teams and CIOs and CEOs don't have to have huge CapEx investments. Let's just go cloud. We don't have to have as many people. It's easier. And early days of cloud was awesome. It was great because applications could run, storage, all that jazz, and the costs weren't too bad. But the Googles and the Amazons and the Microsofts of the world have gotten smart. They've got everyone, if I'm allowed to use this term, addicted to the drug, if you will. And now prices are going up, right? It's expensive. Cloud can be really expensive to run everything that you need. And I'll give you the best example. I mean, it's a little bit exaggerated, but it's not too far off. If you're driving in your car, for political reasons, I won't mention Tesla, but still a great car. But if you're driving like an automated, you're driving your car, and a human being walks in front of it, and the car has to make a decision on whether to hit the brakes, flash the warning signs, or whatever. Do you want to wait for a signal to go from a car through some wireless connection to the cloud, have some AI model spinning around, and then spit the answer back? And the answer is probably no. So that's an extreme example, but latency, cloud can be really high performance. You can have the most expensive networking gear and routers out there, but you still can't fight the speed of light. And that is a rhyme that I think I've used before, but it's not on purpose. But yeah, you can't fight it. So it takes time for data to get from wherever you are at the edge, whether it's a car or a retail store, to the cloud. So latency is a killer nowadays because the economy is moving so fast, and that's being fueled by that other topic we started talking about is AI, right? So there's a lot going on where businesses need to make decisions faster than ever before. They can't depend on the cloud for everything. So between cost and latency, there's a lot of energy being spent now thinking about, all right, which applications stay in the cloud and what do I need to deploy on-prem at the edge?
You know what? We are touching very important and very costly topics, okay? Because
Yeah.
let's put ourselves in the seat of the IT leader, okay? The one with budget, the one with pressing mission, okay? The one with already, I'm guessing, the huge stack of technology, okay? They're dealing with, all right, and all the
Yeah.
risks and mitigations that comes with it, all right? So, what kind of conversations happening right now? Because as you said, with the latency, the costs, okay, it's all pressing points on everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I would start by saying this. I would not want to be a director or VP or CIO of IT. It's a hard job. It really is, because you have so many, to your point, there's tech out there, there's software out there. There's so many ways to solve a problem. It's mind numbing. And a lot of times, if there's a decision that's been made, and a lot of times this is what happens, a decision's been made, okay, we can run applications on-prem at the edge on, and we don't need the cloud for this particular application. We don't want the cloud for the reasons we talked about. Okay, now what do we do? Because now there's all sorts of options out there. And a lot of times, if IT teams aren't careful, they'll just say, well, yeah, I hope we talk about this later, but we use VMware and vSAN as an example in our data center. Let's just deploy all that on-prem. Let's use the same IT infrastructure at the edge that we do in the data center. And that just doesn't work. It's just way too cost prohibitive, too complex. It's hard to install, it's hard to manage, it's hard to update, it's hard to monitor, all those things. So there really needs to be a new look at what is the right sized infrastructure to run at your small sites when you need to. There's a technology out there, we can get into it later if you want, called hyper-converged infrastructure, where basically instead of massive amounts of servers and storage and networking, it's all condensed into a smaller form factor. It's just one box. It's a server basically that runs virtual server, virtual storage, virtual networking. So you only need one or two of these boxes at a small site. You don't need a big data center architecture. So yeah, and it can be expensive if you're not careful, but if they think about deploying the same kit they deploy in the data center, I'll just say it's a failing strategy. You need to think about newer ways of deploying applications on hardware and infrastructure at the small sites. Hyper-converged infrastructure, or HCI, is a tool that a lot of IT people are using these days.
Beautiful. Sounds reasonable and easy to deal with, and we both know it's not, okay? Can we maybe unpack a little bit the true costs, okay, of tech on edge, of edge AI infrastructure, looking under the hood for a moment?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so let's unpack this a little bit. So let's start with hardware. The industry doesn't use the term much anymore, but there was that thing called Moore's Law. It came from the founder of Intel, that approximately every 18 months, compute power is going to double. It's not necessarily on that same curve, but there's so much going on in the hardware space where the providers like Dell and HPE and Supermicro, Lenovo, Intel, AMD, they're coming out with faster and faster processors and memory and packaging, that the hardware space is so capable now of running massive AI models, running all your applications on-prem. So I think the hardware is there, and it's really not that expensive. I mean, you could get a super high-powered server for like $8,000 or something. Like it's really, the tech on the hardware side has advanced so much, and I would contend that's one of the main reasons for this huge growth of AI. Between the server technology and what our friends at NVIDIA are doing, they're brilliant on the GPU side, which are the plug-in cards that sometimes you need to run AI models. But hardware pricing and power is going up, costs going down. So that's the hardware side. Then if you look at software, IT teams generally cannot just run all of the applications and all of the AI models and inferencing that they need. They can't just run it on the server. They need some software to do that, obviously. And that's typically virtualization, server virtualization software. And that's where the conversation, comes in about VMware. They've been the dominant force in this space. I think everyone listening might know, but basically VMware server virtualization basically chops up all of your hardware virtually and allows you to run lots of applications in virtual machines. So you can have one physical server, but to an IT admin, it can look like 10, 20, or 50 virtual servers that they can run whatever they want. The issue that's happened in the industry lately is the Broadcom effect, in that they bought VMware and they made a business decision to change the go-to-market model and the product packaging. And basically what's happened in the industry is Broadcom, very smart business people, are focusing on very large clients, because their packaging and bundling and pricing is geared towards data center use, private cloud use. They just released version 9 of VCF, and yeah, it's all about large private clouds. But the small instances, the edge sites, it is cost prohibitive to roll out VMware anymore at these smaller sites. So there's a whole ecosystem, there's a whole bunch of innovation going on of, okay, how are we going to replace VMware? What do we use? Do we use KVM? Do we use do we use OpenShift? Do we use Red Hat? Do we use StoreMagic? Do we use others? There's all sorts of players out there like us that are going after that space, because there's a way to deliver that virtual server technology at a significantly less cost than what VMware used to charge.
Exactly. And let's talk a little bit about this big elephant, okay? Because AI, like it or not, okay, when people say we don't use AI, okay, we're not jeopardizing our clients' privacy. We just very much on-prem, we will old-fashioned shop and that, right? I hear that people using AI without even knowing it, okay, because through vendors, through models,
That's
true. It's everywhere,
That's
right?
True.
So
That's
what
true.
kind of thinking needs to happen for, let's say, responsible leaders, again, with budgets, with people, with headaches, okay, that how should they approach edge AI today?
Yeah, so listen, I would say in general, if you're a CIO, if you're a VP of IT, like I would make a statement that says AI or die. Like, you can't avoid it now. You can't. And because you're going to be left behind by your competitors, no matter what industry you're in. There's so many examples of the benefits of AI. It's not a glam thing. It's not a toy. It's not just for personal use. A lot of us use it just for personal use. It's easier than surfing the web and researching. It does research for you. Okay, great. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's so many real world examples of how AI is delivering significant improvement in ways that we never thought would be able to happen. Like, if you think about healthcare, where a doctor or a provider can be in a hospital entering notes on an iPad and having models show up, recommendations show up to them. Yeah, doctors are smart. Hopefully they learned all of this in med school, but you can't keep up with it all. Computers are much smarter than people. So they can make recommendations on these symptoms, talk to the patient about this, ask these questions. Like, that kind of stuff was not happening just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? In retail, there's constant use. Retail is another great example where AI is a big deal, and optimizing the stores, traffic pattern tracking, AI with video surveillance and making sure people aren't stealing. Instead of having 5 security guards, you can have AI watching your video surveillance. So my point is that innovative thinkers are finding ways to deploy AI, to use AI, and IT folks really need to jump on it and think about it. And it's different. It's not just the boring, okay, I gotta the business says I need to run these applications. How do I run them in the most efficient, cost-effective way? No, I mean, IT leaders need to think about this. How do we innovate as an IT department so that we can do things better? How can we do managing and monitoring and software updating faster? How do we write code faster? There's so many use cases of AI that it's just like I said. I just think, personal opinion is that it's really hit mainstream, or it's hitting mainstream just over the last few months. And I can't imagine what we would talk about 6 months from now, right? It would be completely different. It'd be completely different.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love to hear about success stories here. Okay. If you give us an example of a project that you think things went well, meaning that you don't need to name client names, we don't need organization details. It's just, the scenario when leaders approached the AI or just any technology on edge, right? Implemented right, deployed right, and that's seen business results.
Yeah, the thing about the edge is that it's really different than the data center, and there's a lot like in the world of data center, there's badge access to the data center itself. So there's security, there's raised floors and air conditioning. It's like a pristine environment. There are people that have been trained for years on how do you maintain the hardware, how do you update the software. All these policies and procedures have been developed over decades. And here comes edge, where, like you said, AI is driving a lot of it, but not all of it. It's just, some of it's just basic blocking and tackling. Like I need to run, we have a retail client that they need to run a local database analysis at each and every store every single night. And they just need to run that application well. Of course, there's AI inside of it, but they just need a reliable system that's not too expensive, that can meet their performance needs, so they don't have to do this in the data center every night. So there's just so many examples of where running applications on site at the edge is the right way to go. And I do believe that AI, we haven't even hit it yet, really. It's just starting. How can AI help us deploy applications faster, monitor them faster? And I just think the costs are coming down so much that this market's exploding, and edge is a big piece of it. I really believe that. Look, data center customers are still going to have data centers. They're still going to use cloud. But this population growth, the world isn't slowing down. Everything's speeding up, and data and applications need to be faster and closer to where human beings are, and closer to where the robots are that are building our chips in our factories, right? So there's a huge explosion happening around edge, deploying edge computing technologies along with AI.
Beautiful, beautiful. You touched a little bit about cost of cloud, okay? And we've seen some of the poor sufferers who just didn't look enough, didn't manage enough, and they incurred huge costs, okay? Just overnight, over a few hours. We all heard these terrible disaster stories, okay? How if you're not careful, you're running into huge problems, okay? On edge, okay, could you talk to us, okay, what kind of disasters people should think about and hopefully learn from other mistakes, although we don't like to learn from others' mistakes, but it's our job here at least to share some knowledge.
Yeah, so I've got two topics on that one. One is to think about it this way. Think about board of directors. A lot of times strategy comes down from the board, which is all well and good. And maybe over the last 10 or 20 years, the buzz was cloud, and they were challenging their IT leaders, say, it's got to be cloud, because they're reading about all of these articles, right, in Forbes and wherever else, maybe your podcast. They're reading and listening about the benefits of cloud. So a lot of companies that I run into, a lot of times I'll go to trade shows and just talk to hundreds of people over the course of a day or two. And a lot of them say, yeah, we're not interested in what you have, because we're on-prem kind of company. We're cloud only. Cloud first, cloud only. We don't touch hardware anymore. I'm like, okay, great. But I also think that's a mistake, right? So I think IT people have to have some, I was going to use a slang word that I shouldn't, but they should have some courage to push back and say, you know what, cloud everything doesn't make sense anymore. Okay, so now to answer your second question about on-prem, yeah, it does raise some concerns. There are some risks here, which is data center is well understood in terms of we got processes, procedures, we've got redundant systems. If something fails, everything's going to keep on running. That's harder to do at the edge. It really is. So that's where IT folks really need to look for technology. So you're going to emulate what you do in the data center without copying it, right? So I mentioned this HCI thing, hyperconverged infrastructure. Okay, great. You have a single server that does a lot of stuff, but what if that server fails? So you do need some redundancy locally. So what I would look for them is at least another server, maybe two, so that you can have some built-in redundancy, because things go bad. Servers fail, CPU fails, memory could fail, just a couple of disk drives fail and you're down. So uptime is something that's really important at the edge, and a lot of companies move tech to the edge because of uptime, because their connection to the cloud, their connection to the internet does go down. It can be intermittent. Google, Amazon, they've all had outages. And they're usually short, a couple hours. But listen, if you're running a hospital and you have a 2-hour outage, that could be death, right? So on-prem kit is really important in a lot of instances, but they really have to be careful about uptime. Another word we use is high availability, but just have some redundancy built into your systems, whether that's 2 or 3, or if you need it, 4 servers. And like I said, the technology is so powerful and so inexpensive that we like to say a customer, using our technology, StoreMagic, a customer can roll out a pair of servers with very high reliability for like $10,000, maybe $15,000. And it's not that expensive. I think people think I can't run everything on-prem because it's expensive. It's really not anymore.
That's a good point. That's a great point, because as this world old statement that cloud is so easy, so low the entry barrier. Okay, that frankly anyone can start playing with it, and of course cost incurs, and there is even discipline now called FinApps. Okay, how do you keep organization on track of within the budget? A question here: management complexity. Okay, because I imagine large organizations who handle everything. Okay, you ask them what they have everything. All right, I'm sure you met those people at conferences, right? Those confused leaders who really, tend to be innovative, but they just can't. Okay, question is for you: what's a good conversation to have for a company like yours, for yourself as a leader, in terms of how do you convince people that employing edge for part of the business, okay, not necessarily making just one mission critical decision at the moment?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I would say start with cost, and really look at, analyze in depth. And of course, there's AI tools that can help you, but analyze your costs. See how much are you really spending with whoever your cloud provider is, right? What does that monthly bill really look like? Because running an application and storing data in the cloud, it's not too bad. But where they get you is the access, right? The sending data, retrieving data, expanding storage. That all adds up. So if your ingress and egress costs, the cost of sending and receiving data over the internet into your cloud instance, if that's starting to, a lot of times that's what creeps up the most, then there's an analysis that can be done. Okay, you know what? We can deploy these $10,000, $20,000, whatever the numbers are, but low thousands of dollars of on-prem systems at the edge. We can save a lot of money. Now when you unpack that a little bit, it still gets complicated. That's why I said I wouldn't want to be a CIO. This is hard stuff. Now you say, okay, now what software do I use? Hardware is okay; it's pretty commodity based, but how do I make it all work? And that's where there's a whole industry that's opening up about what's the right way to deploy applications at the edge. And VMware used to be the industry standard, but now there's other ways of doing it, right? You can run, you can have an all container model and use Kubernetes for management. You can use new players on the market that have new hypervisors like ourselves that are based on open source, like KVM, which is what we do, which is a well-distributed hypervisor that's open source. We use that as our core, and then we build our IP on top of it to make sure that we can ensure uptime and low cost. But look at what is the core software, and you can't afford to spend $100,000 a year for hypervisors at the edge. That model is not going to work. So you need to look for newer ways of virtualizing your technology at the edge, and then you need to work with your software vendors on how do they license? Are you using Oracle? Are you using Microsoft? Are you using SAP? And do they license by the core, of the CPU? Do they license by instance? So costs can add up as well. So everyone has to be really careful. It is a detailed financial analysis that has to happen. But what we see is that a lot of end users are making these decisions and looking at it going, you know what, it's time to move not all applications, but the critical apps that need to be close to the action, if you will, close to where the people are, close to where the customers are, close to where our robots are. That's where those applications, it doesn't make sense anymore for performance and cost reasons to send data back and forth to the cloud.
Thankless question, Bruce, okay? Predicting the future, all right? I'm not asking you 100% accuracy of anything, right? I'm just interested.
I can make something up just like the rest of us. So
Why not?
Let's hear it.
Why not? Yeah, let's hear that, because, future trends, emerging technology, and edge, future of edge, okay? Where do you think the industry is going and how customers actually going to adjust?
Yeah, so I really believe that I'm a big believer in. My background, my history has been more on the hardware side. Kind of grew up as an electrical engineer and all that kind of jazz. So I think that hardware is leading the software industry, and I think there's evidence of this. Like you mentioned earlier, right? NVIDIA is innovating on the chip side, and AMD and Intel, like there's a lot of innovation on the hardware side. So I believe that we're going to continue to see smaller and smaller form factors. There's a product out there called a Raspberry Pi. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. It's a tiny little computer, and it's like $100, right? Those kind of things are getting really powerful. So my thinking is that trend will continue. We're going to see smaller and smaller form factors that can deliver more and more performance and reliability with all the uptime that I was talking about. And we're going to start to see a decision process that says, you know what, it's so easy to run things at the edge. And if a server fails, who cares? It's like $500. Let's just throw it away. We'll get another one, right? But what that's going to drive, and it's already happening, is the software side of things. And how do you manage that environment? Right now, it's like the wild, wild west of edge data management. It's an open field. No one does it really well. It's emerging, right? So hardware's doing well. You can run applications, not a problem. How do you manage all of that? If you have 20,000 sites, how do you keep those updated? How do you manage all of that? So I think there's innovation coming around the world of managing all of these edge sites so that IT people don't have to stress as much. And clearly AI is going to be a piece of it. Look, probably by I don't think I'll be alive when this happens. At least I don't think so. But at some point, AI will be able to manage it without much human intervention. If a server fails, yes, you're always going to need a human to put the new piece of hardware in. But after that, why couldn't AI just bring that server up, put the right software on it, and manage it remotely? So yeah, I think that's I would say that would be my vision for the future of the edge, and I think we're on our way there already.
Want to be part of it for sure. Want to be part. The world is not slowing down. You mentioned early. Exactly, wow, what a discovery! We're predicting that it's not going to slow down.
Exactly. Right? Yeah.
Bruce, thank you so much. The time is flying. Amazing. We just scratched the surface. Okay, we talked a little bit about technology, but mostly about people, decision makers, right? And what we as humans will incur in the coming months. Even forget about years, right?
Exactly.
Things moving fast. In conclusion, could you please leave our audience with few takeaways, kind of summarizing all the insights that you shared today and just maybe a lesson learned?
Yeah, so I would just say a couple of thoughts off the cuff here. One would be try to not think cloud everything and be open to new technologies of running your own hardware and software. It's not as scary as it was 10 years ago. So I would say the whole cloud versus edge, it's not as scary. You can save a lot of money, and you can still have the uptime that you expect from a data center class solution. And along those lines, hyper-converged infrastructure is an area to go look at, because that's the way it's being done at the edge. So that's one area. I would say we talked a little bit about AI here. So yeah, just find the right people on your staff that are the forward thinkers. And when there's engineers, that's not always the case. Sorry, I'm an engineer as well, but not every engineer will think that way and think broadly and futuristically. Find the right people on your staff and brainstorm. There's no rule book. No one's going to tell you how to deploy, how to use AI. Invent it yourself. There's opportunities for IT teams to be inventive and creative and come up with ways of using AI to make your business faster and better and keep up with the competition. I think those two are good. There you go.
Absolutely. I encourage everyone to follow Bruce on LinkedIn to find out, okay, what Store Magic team can do for you, because you are definitely excited about what you heard today. All right. So please reach out to Bruce and his team. And this way we're going to make some actionable, actually, right? Output out of this conversation. Bruce, thank you so very much for joining SaugaTalks. Please come back with more updates, with more interesting solutions, and we'll see how those predictions is going to play out. Yeah,
I would love to do it. Thanks for having me. Anytime. Let's do this again.
Thank you so much.